And then feel free to mute yourself if you haven't done so already. And then just know that if you ever have a question during class, please feel free to unmute and interrupt. I love knowing that you're out there, and having you interrupt is fine. But I wanted to start by saying, so today's class, firing up, like we're like shedding a lot of the energy we've been holding for the last few weeks, all the tension around the election and the growing darkness. And so creating some heat in practice this morning is part of the intention. But we also know that shoulders and necks are very sensitive places in our body. So when we work through with side plank pose is going to be our main pose that we're working with today. When we're working with that, just the encouragement is always, how do you balance finding a challenge and a little fire in the belly with making sure that you don't hurt yourself and that you're taking good care of yourself all the way. So I'll be offering modifications throughout the class, and it's just going to be a play. Life is always that play of how much is too much. And if you know yourself that you tend to push pretty hard, then maybe the invitation is, okay, so let's do a little bit less. If you know that your tendency is to hang back and to maybe not push, like just play with that balance a little bit. So as always, taking care of yourself. And if you're having so much going on in your shoulders that just being in plank pose, isn't good for you, then modify doing things on hands and knees or on your back. I actually love it when I look up and I see people doing their own thing, because it shows that you're listening and you're like, oh, that I need to do this right now because this is serving me. So that's the invitation always in my classes. And now let's all find a comfortable seat on our mats. And take a minute to allow your eyes to close, or your gaze to be soft and gentle down towards the floor. Taking a deep breath in, maybe your shoulders lift towards your ears, and then exhale with a sigh. Just allowing yourself to find your natural breath, not trying to force anything. Acknowledging yourself for showing up this morning. Carving out this time to take care of yourself. Maybe as you settle here, feeling your breath pour more gently into your low belly. Maybe putting a hand on your low belly reminds you to invite the breath deep into your core. And taking a moment to imagine your breath pouring from the crown of your head down the sides of your skull, The breath is filled with light and healing energy, permeating through tight muscles in the jaw, reaching down through the sides of the neck. Breath reaches over the shoulders, through all the tight fascia, connective tissues, and muscles of the shoulders. Sending that healing light on the breath down the arms, out through the fingertips. And feeling that light traveling on the breath, moving through your heart center, expanding your heart, your physical heart, your spiritual heart. Your lungs are bathed in that breath. Feeling the breath reach down your spine, each vertebrae, receiving that healing energy. All the organs in your abdomen. Imagining the breath reaching around and through your organs. Inviting light and spaciousness to places that we rarely give our attention. And then the breath travels through the hips, around the pelvis, the femur bone, the large muscles of the legs, the quads, and the hamstrings, through the knees, calves, and the shins, wrapping around your heels. Really picturing that light now in your feet, these feet that carry us throughout our day. All the bones of the feet and the muscles, right out through the toes. Picturing that light now in a sphere around you. This field of energy and light that's here to protect and nourish you. Loves to be recognized. Bring our hands to our heart center, bowing towards our hands. Opening our practice with this acknowledgement of our own wisdom and our light that we carry with us. Let's join our voices in the sound of Om to open our practice. Don't worry, you're muted, so you can Om as loud as you want. So we'll inhale and then exhale to Om. So inhaling together. Om. Imagining the vibration of our ohms extending into each other's spaces and hearts, this community gathered to practice this morning. And then let's exhale the hands and inhale, hands lift overhead. And exhale, we'll move our hands through heart center. We'll do this 2 more times. So fingertips reach towards the floor, and then inhale, moving through your field of energy, allowing your eyes to close as your hands meet above, and then slowly move through heart center. Taking time to imagine this field of light. Inhaling, moving through your field. Exhaling, acknowledging your strong heart wisdom. And then let's allow the hands to rest on the thighs as we just begin to open our necks. Maybe chin drops towards the chest. And then however it works for you to be moving organically here, inviting just slow, really slow, thoughtful movements into opening in your necks. Listening what would feel just right now to bring breath and light and space into those really, really tight areas of your neck. If you find a tight spot, it sometimes feels nice to move the opposite shoulder into some very gentle circles, or releasing the opposite hand and making circles with the arms, the opposite arm. Just listening in. And if you've been really focused on one side of your neck, allowing the stretch to move into the opposite side. And then let's roll both shoulders back, making circles with the shoulders, allowing that movement maybe to reach your whole torso, begins to move organically. Maybe rolling opposite shoulders now, just allowing the movement to really kind of get all into the torso. Doesn't have to look any way in particular, but we're extending the movement into the sides of the body and the back. This organic movement is some of the easiest things to incorporate into a home practice, because you don't have to remember the sequencing and poses. You just start to listen to what would feel just right in my body. And it's all yoga. There's no way to do it wrong. Let's inhale, arms lift. And exhale, we'll move the left arm across the front of the body as we catch the forearm with our right arm, or a shoulder stretch here. So my left arm is across my body and my right arm is catching the forearm. And just notice, this is like a stretch that a lot of us have been doing since high school sports, right? Do you go to gripping so hard here? Can you relax and let the support of your right arm just provide some traction and gentle opening in the left shoulder? Maybe circling out that left shoulder. Noticing if your breath got shallow and tight, and invite the breath into that left shoulder. Again, this can all be organic here. What would feel just right in this opening, this left shoulder, left side. And then when you're ready, we'll release. Inhale, lifting both arms, making a big stretch towards the sky. Like we could pull some of that sun energy right back down. Exhale, right arm comes in front of the body. Left arm bends in front of the right. So my right arm is across my body and my left arm's coming underneath and catching it to provide a little shoulder stretch in the right shoulder. Maybe rocking up and down with that right shoulder. And then circling. Notice how when you start to circle, the whole upper body wants to be involved. And then we'll inhale, arms lift, exhale, hands move through heart center. And then we'll move on to hands and knees for tabletop position next to open the spine. If being on hands and knees isn't great for your wrists, you can do this all from sitting and cat, cow, and side stretch. So again, here's the first option to listen in what would work best in your body this morning. So from tabletop position, finding your hands under your shoulders. And we'll just start with a gentle cat-cow motion. So allowing your belly to drop and your gaze to look forward as your spine moves into cow pose, and then inhaling into cat as the back lifts, chin drops towards chest. So making your motions here organic, feeling the exhale move you into cow pose and riding the breath on your inhale, cat pose. And while we're in this pose, let's play with feeling the connection between the pelvis and the low ribs. So finding a neutral spine, imagine curling the low ribs towards the pelvis. That motion almost brings us not into a full cat pose, but you can feel it pulling the pelvis in slightly. And then exhale back to neutral. So again, just inhale, pulling the top of the hip bones towards the low ribs. Do you feel how that engages the core? And that motion, if it's very subtle, can create a flat back. And we're going to use this motion and this core engagement a lot when we're in plank pose today. So I want you to feel it right now when the knees are on the floor, just playing. It's like a teeny tiny pelvic motion where top of the hip bones pull towards the low ribs and I feel my low belly engage. So let's let that go now, and inhaling at center, exhale, side bend to the left. So my left, I'm looking towards my left hip, bringing my left shoulder towards my left hip for a side bend. Inhaling at center, exhale, side bend to the right, feeling a nice opening on the left side of the body. Inhaling to center, side bend. It's making a C shape in the spine, where we've opened the spine front to back through cat and cow pose. Now we're opening the spine side to side. And then moving back to center, left hand comes below the sternum on the mat. And we'll inhale the right arm to lift towards the sky. And exhale, right arm threads the needle behind the left as we bring the right shoulder to the floor for shoulder stretch. That left hand can stay right in front of your face, or maybe left hand walks out towards the top of your mat. And then let's inhale, right arm lifts towards the sky, and exhale, right hand comes onto the mat right below the sternum. And then we'll inhale, the left arm lifts towards the sky, and exhale, threading the needle, left shoulder makes its way towards the mat. You might not get all the way there, but that's the invitation. Can you let your neck release? Maybe that right fingertips walk towards the top of your mat. And then the right hand comes back in front of the face. As we inhale, left hand lifts towards the sky, and exhale, left hand comes down to table. Setting up now for plank. We're going to be moving through plank pose and dog pose, just creating a wave-like motion. But important here to make sure that our hand positioning is in the right spot. So we want to have our hands underneath our shoulders, and index fingers generally point towards the top of the mat, and index fingers are parallel. If that works in your body might be a little bit different. And then toes curl under. Let's lift first into our downward dog, walking out the feet in downward dog here. Feeling the opening in the backs of the legs, maybe taking a deep, deep bend in the knees. And then exhale, extending the legs long, allowing the head to release. Let's try that again. Inhale, deep bend to the knees. Exhale, extend and release. And then I need to slide my feet back a little bit before I'm rolling forward into plank pose, first plank pose of the morning. I need my feet a little farther back than I usually have in downward dog in order to create that long spine in the back. And then rolling on your toes back and forth, you get to feel different positioning for your plank pose. So feeling right now that engagement of the low belly, the top of the hip bones, subtly moving towards the low ribs to create that engagement. And then let's inhale into downward dog, staying high on the toes. Big inhale into the back of the body. Exhale back into plank. Inhale, downward dog. High on the toes here. Exhale, plank. Imagine like a wave crashing in the ocean. You're moving with your inhale and then the exhale here. Just warming up that core. Feeling that engagement in the low belly. And then knees come down to the floor. Let's all sit back into child's pose if that works in your body. Forehead comes to the hands. Or hands can be reaching towards your feet. Find your breath again here. Feel the breath expanding into the back of the body, into the hips. Noticing any judgment that may have come up. Remembering one of the gifts of yoga is to not take ourselves so seriously. It's important to have core strength to protect our backs, but not at the expense of hurting our shoulders or our low back. So how can you make this practice truly your own? Let's slide forward now, coming back into tabletop position. And we'll find our hands again under our shoulders, index fingers parallel, pointing towards the top of the mat. Toes curl under, lifting first into downward dog. Setting your feet up for shifting into plank pose. And then back to downward dog. Inhale. This time, we're going to move the left foot towards the center of the mat. Inhaling the right foot to three-legged dog. And on the exhale, my right knee is going to come to my left elbow in a plank position. So shifting my weight forward, right knee to left elbow. Exhale, three-legged dog. Inhale, right knee, right elbow, plank pose. Exhale, three-legged dog. Inhale, right knee comes to the center, holding plank pose, building that heat, firing it up. Exhale, three-legged dog. Right leg releases, both knees come to the ground. Exhale, child's pose. This time, let's walk the hands off to the right in left side of the mat in child's pose. Release your head, feeling a nice stretch in the right side of the body. And then walking the hands over to the right side of the mat, maybe on fingertips. Exhale, child's pose. And then inhaling, coming back to your tabletop position. Now you know where we're going with the left leg. So we're moving our left knee from the right elbow to the left elbow into the center position. So inhaling, lifting into downward dog. Exhale, let's first just shifting forward, finding our feet in alignment for our plank pose. And then inhale, let's move our right foot to the center of the mat as the left foot lifts into three-legged dog. Exhale, shifting into plank as the left knee moves to the right elbow. Exhale, exhaling, left knee to left elbow. Inhale to center. And exhale, left knee moves to center. Exhale, three-legged dog. Back into downward dog, taking a minute here to let the breath regulate. Warming up the core, warming up the shoulders. And then finding our way to hands and knees. Let's shift ourselves to our seat with our feet in front in a wide leg position. Dropping knees from one side to the other, warming up the hips in windshield wiper here. Letting your heart rate, noticing your heart rate. Noticing how that all felt in your shoulders. And then the next time your knees drop to the right side of the mat, right hand plants to the outside of the right thigh, left hand extends behind over your left foot, and we'll inhale up onto the knees, onto the fingertips of the right hand for a big opening in that left hip flexor, left psoas. Allow your gaze to look towards your right hand. Exhale, hips come to the floor, left arm extends. 2 more times. We'll inhale and lift. First, looking at your left hand, opening your chest and your heart, and then exhale, hips release. Last time, inhale, lift. And this time, add any organic movement here to help you feel into this big hip opening on the left side. Maybe that's rotating your left arm in some circles. Maybe it's just stillness. Feeling your breath expand in front of the belly. Exhale, hips come to the floor. Feet come to the floor. Finding your windshield wipers again in your hips here. And then knees fall to the left as we set ourselves up for half circle on the right side. So my left foot is in front of my right thigh. Left hand is near my left hip. Right hand reaches over my right foot as I inhale and sweep up into opening on the right side. Maybe allowing the gaze to look down towards the ground. Exhale, hips come to the ground. 2 more times, your pace. Your inhale brings you to lift and open through the chest and the hip. Exhale, release. Inhaling, maybe adding some organic movement here, allowing your eyes to close. And then exhale. Hips come to the floor. Let's move through tabletop. And then however it makes sense for you to find yourself back into a standing pose, maybe moving through downward dog. Perhaps a rag doll right here would feel really good, allowing the hands to cross opposite elbows. And then we will slowly find ourselves into a standing pose, taking your time to get there. And I like at this point in class, after we've been on the floor and warming up there, I like to shift the energy a little bit with some different breath exercises to get us tapped into our energy fields again. So today we're going to do some swinging twists and then a lymph bounce after that. So everybody's probably familiar with swinging twists. You just want your feet nice and wide apart, and then you can choose to have loose arms, allow your arms to kind of slap your body. Some people prefer really shaping their energy field with keeping their arms straight. And then you can bring your twists high above or down near your feet, whatever your choice is. We're going to add the ha breath here. So what it sounds like is as I twist, I'm going to exhale with a ha, 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 ha. Allow your gaze to follow your shoulders. Ha, 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 ha. Allow that to quiet. Allow yourself to keep moving a little bit though. Maybe your gaze is soft at the ground. Maybe you're shaking out your hands and your feet. And then allow your movement to come to stillness and see if you can feel into any prana or energy that you just generated for those swinging twists. Maybe your hands move through your field like you can move through water and shape your energy field. Feeling like, can you feel that ball of energy, that prana ball in front of you? Is it really big or is it really small? Can you hold that? Just hold it almost shape it in your hands. Whatever size it is, imagine you're lifting that ball of life energy, prana, overhead and letting it pour through you, pouring down through your physical body, moving down through your energetic body, pushing it all the way down to your feet, and then using that earth energy to scoop earth energy, healing, cleansing energy up, and again, allowing this to pour over you, washing away stuck emotions, tension, energy, letting it go, shake it out. We'll move through some lymph bounces. So lymph bounces, our toes stay planted and our heels bounce, and we let out a sound as we're doing that. Sounds something like this. Inhale. Let your arms shake. Inhale, big inhale. Shake it out. Great. Okay. So let's use that lighthearted, right? This is yoga, smile on the face, not taking ourselves too seriously. We're going to move through a flow where we're doing some side plank and there's lots of options, and you're going to take care of yourself because you are smart and you know what you need. All right. So coming to the front of your mat, your feet are wide apart, hips distance apart, sorry. And if you have a block handy, you might use it now between your thighs to help give that feeling of really pulling in towards your center line, the center line of the legs. Or if you have a blanket, yeah, get creative, a pillow. So we'll inhale, arms lift here, exhale, hands come back as we set up for chair pose. So feeling right away in chair, that connection between the top of the hip and the low ribs to keep that strong core. The inner line of the legs are zipping up together. Imagine if you don't have a block, imagine you're squeezing a block through your legs. And then we'll inhale, hands part the air in front of us as they find each other behind, lifting into standing yoga mudra. Big opening across the chest. Exhale, forward fold, hands stay clasped behind, head releases. Inhale, hands release, block releases. We'll step right foot back, high lunge, left foot back, plank pose, moving through your vinyasa here. So that might be knees down and chest comes through to find a low back bend. Toes curl under, downward dog. And then shifting into plank pose. Here's where our options begin for side plank. Option number one, coming to the knees. Right foot kicks off to the right side of the mat, creating a kickstand behind and coming up for side plank with a knee down. That's option one. Option two from plank pose is to move into plank, left foot steps in front to create a side plank with a half plank here. Again, in this pose, we're really not wanting to drop in the right hip, but we're using core to hold us upright. Option three, heels drop to the right, either heel toe alignment for side plank or feet stack. If you're familiar with this pose and you're comfortable with stacking here, wherever you are, come out when you need. Feeling your core build, core strength working here, engaging. Exhale, left hand comes to the floor, knees down, moving through child's pose. Taking a pause here. If it would feel better for you to take your pause in downward dog, feel free to move there. Allowing the head to release. And then let's all meet in downward dog. And I'm going to switch my positioning on the mat. So we're moving into side plank here too. You can move right into your variation. That works for you. I will guide them again. And you can always come in and out of side plank if it takes me a while to catch up. So option one is shifting into plank pose, dropping the knees. Left foot kicks off the left side of the mat, toes curl under to create a knee down side plank. And this is a nice form to come into to really feel that engagement in the core to hold your body up here. You could add a little extra work in this knee down version by lifting that right leg. Option two, from plank pose, right foot steps in front of the left thigh, feeling that strong engagement through the shoulders, right shoulder aligned over left. And then option three, if you're not already there, heels drop to the left, heel toe alignment on the sides, inside of the right foot, outside of the left foot, or stacking right foot over left. Feeling engagement in the left side body, lifting, not dropping here. Exhale, right hand comes to the mat. Rolling now through, knees down into child's pose. Pausing here. Let's all inhale through the nose and exhale with the sigh. Ha. One more time, inhale through the nose. Exhale with the sigh. Ha. And moving through tabletop pose, toes curl under. We'll step the left foot towards the front of the mat, and then the right foot meets the left. Forward fold. Let the head release, neck release. And then hands find your block. If your block is nearby, that comes back between the legs. Hands sweep the floor as we lift into chair pose. Feeling that neutral but engaged low back, core is engaged. Inhale, lifting, standing mountain pose. Exhale, hands come through center, pausing. And we'll find that flow one more time. So inhale, arms lift. Exhale, knees bend, arms move back, finding your chair pose. Hands part the air in front as they meet behind. Inhale, standing yoga mudra. Exhale, forward fold. Hands are still clasped behind the back, neck releases. Then hands release, block releases. Hands come to either side of the feet, stepping left foot back, right foot back to meet the left. Finding your plank pose here. Then moving through your vinyasa, maybe knees coming to the ground, elbows bending, finding your back bend, toes curl under, lifting into downward dog. Inhale, plank pose, finding your side plank this morning. Maybe if that's half plank with the left foot stepped in front of the right thigh. Maybe it's right knee down for knee down, side plank. Feeling that engagement through the core so that you're not dropping in that right hip. Exhale, left hand comes to the mat, moving first through downward dog, and then choosing whether you move through vinyasa here or go into child's pose. You're moving through vinyasa, elbows bend, bringing you into a back bend. We'll all meet in downward dog. And then shifting into plank pose, finding side plank now on this side. That might mean right foot steps in front of the left thigh as you lift into your side plank. Maybe feet are heel toe or stacked. Feeling your strength, but listening to your wisdom, feeling your fire. Exhale, right hand comes to the floor, moving through downward dog. And then left foot steps to the hands, right foot steps to the hands, forward fold. Inhale, find your block as you lift into chair pose. Feeling that fire you stoked in your core, feeling how different chair pose feels now than the beginning of class. That solid groundedness through your feet. Your core is alive and awake. Inhale, standing mountain pose. Exhale, hands move through heart center, acknowledging your strength, your mountain, your fire. Exhale, let's release the block from the hands and find our way. Let's lift, hands reach towards sky, find our way into a ragdoll to start. So hands can cross at the elbows, really allowing the low back to release here from all of that work in the low back. Let the head shake yes, and then no. Twisting from side to side. Moving through Malasana, squat pose if that works in your body. You might have heels pointed in, toes pointed out. You could always find a squat pose with a block underneath your sacrum. That can be really nice and supportive, but if it doesn't work in your knees, you can just find your seat on the floor. If you're in squat pose, allowing your elbows to find the insides of your knees. A little resistance there. Maybe forehead drops to be caught by the thumbs near the eye sockets. This is a pose of humility. Bowing to our own inner wisdom, being close to the earth, acknowledging the wisdom of our earth. And then hands release, hips release to the floor. as we find our way down to our mats for a figure 4 stretch. So if you know where we're going with figure 4 stretch, you can find your way there. This would be a good time to put on a couple extra layers if you're starting to cool down after being all fired up. So when you're ready, finding your way, lying on your mat and just pausing to notice what this feels like, the support of the mat, the support of the floor, feeling your sacrum release onto the floor. Sometimes just doing this, allowing your feet to be wide and your knees to knock in towards each other, hands on the belly, or one hand on belly, one hand on heart. Just doing this for 3 minutes when your nervous system is really strung out can be incredibly restorative. Remembering that's always an option. Staying there or lifting left leg towards the sky. Let's roll out that left ankle. And then left toes point towards the left as you bend that left knee. Left ankle crosses the right leg, lifting the right leg. That works in your body today. Hands clasped behind the right thigh. Let it all out. Rocking from side to side if that feels good in your low back and your hip. Taking time to acknowledge all that hard work you just did in your shoulders and your core. Releasing your jaw. Let's inhale that left leg towards the sky and then exhale, left leg slowly, slowly, like you're moving through water. That left leg releases to the floor. And then left heel slides up to meet the right. Inhaling, right leg lifts towards the sky, rolling out that right ankle. Saying hi to the toes and the ankle of the right leg and foot. And then right toes point out to the right as you bend in that right knee. And lifting the left leg with that right ankle crossed over the left thigh. Hands come behind the left thigh. So a few deep breaths here to settle into the pose. And then rocking side to side if that's safe in your low back. Releasing any holding in your jaw or behind your eyes, your neck. Where are you holding on right now that you can let go? Inhale, that right leg extends, and then slowly, slowly, right foot releases towards the mat. Right heel slides up to meet the left. Let's lift the hips slightly to the left, a few inches. As we then lift our knees, hands come out to a T position, and then knees are going to drop to the right for a twist on the left side. Gaze can be over the left arm. Maybe your right hand comes to the outside of your left thigh. Allow everything to settle here. Can you let go of holding in your brain, in your legs, the big muscles of the legs, in your belly? Allow this twist to really land in the belly by taking big, deep breaths into the low belly. And then inhale, knees move towards center, feet come to the floor. Hips lift and shift just a few inches to the right. And then knees lift towards chest. Inhaling at center, exhale, knees drop to the left. Allowing that right shoulder to stay as close to the floor as possible. Gaze can be over towards the right arm, but notice if that's creating tension in your neck. Can you back that off so your head is just comfortable? Maybe moving a little bit to the right, but not with a lot of tension. Wiggle the fingertips of the right hand and wiggle the toes. Letting go of holding in the big muscles of the legs, the jaw, hips. Feeling the breath land in the belly. Feel the belly accepting this twist, this purge, letting go of anything that's not serving you. And then inhale, knees move to center. Exhale, feet can come to the floor, and you get to choose here what supports you would like to bring in for your Shavasana. Having a pillow, blankets under the knees is a nice option. Legs up the wall is an option, or even pulling a bolster under your sacrum and allowing the legs to lift on your own. Finding a blanket, maybe a sleeve of a sweatshirt to put over your eyes, like an eye pillow. Taking time to settle in comfortably into your resting pose. Maybe allowing the ankles to move from side to side to find a neutral position for your pelvis, and allowing your head to rock from right to left. Maybe you're find just a very slight tuck of your chin so that your head is in an alignment. And finding your rest now. If your thoughts creep in with plans, come back to your breath, to this gift of quiet. Allow yourself this. Feeling free to stay where you are, not need to move, or finding your breath landing in your body, allowing your wrists to find some movement, your fingertips, wiggling your toes, pulling out your ankles, without rushing, and keeping your eyes as softly closed as possible. You'll be finding your way into a fetal position, or choosing to stay in Shavasana, your choice. And then with gentle gaze, perhaps finding yourself back into your seated position with support under your hips, your seat. Paying attention to this in-between time. Peace and spaciousness you've cultivated. This is you. This is your wisdom. Taking in these words by Dana Faulds in her poem called Sangha. Teach me what I cannot learn alone. Let us share what we know and what we cannot fathom. Speak to me of mysteries and let us never lie to one another. May our fierce and tender longing fuel the fire in our souls. When we stand side by side, let us dare to focus our desire on the truth. May we be reminders, each for the other, that the path of transformation passes through the flames. To take one step is courageous. To stay on the path day after day, choosing the unknown and facing yet another fear, that is nothing short of grace. So allowing your hands to come to heart center, thumbs resting on sternum. Pausing here to acknowledge your own wisdom and light. The light within me bows and honors to the light within each of you. Namaste. Thank you for being my Sangha, my Zoom Sangha friends.